Giuliani, who joins me live now. So, Rudy, you have been one of Trump's most loyal supporters, one of his closest friends and confidants. Can he beat the historical precedent and return to the White House, Rudy?
Of course he can. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, precedents like that and records like that are there to be beaten. And the reality is, if you look at Donald Trump's career and his abilities, the more you challenge him, the better he performs. I used to always think he was a better candidate when he was behind than when he was ahead. So look, nothing is guaranteed, right? He has a tremendous support. You can see it. It's unlikely that anybody could defeat him on the way to the Republican nomination. But even that, you just have to be humble. I mean, something could happen, sure. A general election is a little tougher because there's a whole segment of the country that's been brainwashed against him in ways I've never seen before. But I do think this country realizes somewhere deep in their heart and soul that he was treated extraordinarily unfairly. I mean, they tried to frame him for a crime that he didn't commit. And Hillary spent $110 million. I mean, just take it out of the context of politics. She spent $110 million to ruin the life of another person. She was going to try to have him accused of Russian collusion when she knew it didn't happen, since she paid to make it up. And then all her little Democrat sycophants have been lying about that for years. They just go on television and say,
and I mean,
think of 50 Schiff. I have a list here.
Yeah.
I have a list here of all of the witnesses who can show direct connection between Trump and Russia. Now the list gone.
Yeah. No, and I mean, look, the Russian collusion hoax, look, that was certainly very bad for the Democrats. But, Rudy, to play devil's advocate, if you look at the midterm results, does it not indicate that for whatever reason, right, the American public seem to prefer Republicans who aren't connected to Trump?
Not uniformly. I mean, Vance won. A lot of Republicans won who were connected to Trump. First of all, there aren't too many Republicans not connected to Trump. So you have Kemp is one, right? He's not connected to Trump because, and I will echo this and agree with it as his lawyer, because he was unnecessarily uncooperative in the effort to really get a decent count in Georgia, because I don't know why, but he wouldn't return phone calls. He seemed to be very, very frightened of being involved in it. Had he been more forthcoming, we might not have had as much. I mean, that could have been resolved. He never would turn over the paper ballots.
Yeah. No, and I understand that with Kemp. But what about DeSantis, Rudy? Because isn't there a DeSantis-sized elephant in the room? Because obviously Trump and him were close. Trump endorsed him. He's now distanced himself from Trump. They seem to be at war. And DeSantis had this record victory in the Florida governor race.
Well, he's not at war with Ron. This is just a little skirmishing that takes place when two people are thinking of running for president. Don't mistake that. If it becomes a war, it could be a lot worse than it is right now. Right now, it's everybody jockeying and trying to flex their muscles.
Okay, but you say DeSantis runs definitely? That's definitely going to happen?
No, I don't say he runs definitely. I say, I don't know if, I haven't talked to Ron about it. I'll see from what I see publicly, I'd say it looks like he's a little closer to running than not running.
Yeah.
In other words, instead of having his foot out of the water, he has his foot in the water. But he hasn't put the other foot in yet. So we don't know if he's going to put the other foot in or take it out.
Could he beat Trump? Could he beat Trump in the primary, Rudy?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm one that never makes definitive. You know, I didn't buy into necessarily the red wave. I thought it would happen, but I didn't buy into it. I always kept a level of. If you were to ask me right now, in fact, right now is not Trump's strongest position because he just got a lot of bad publicity because they tried to blame the whole election on him. But if you were to have it right now, he would win the Republican primary. The real question is what happens when he starts his patented rallies. Now, those are golden for him. In fact, I think one of the reasons, if he did lose in 2020, he lost is because he was, of all the things the pandemic did, the worst thing is to take his rallies away.
I know. Indeed.
That was always,
it was interesting,
that was
though,
my
because
secret weapon for him.
Yeah, no, it was.
Those rallies, you have no idea what that does for turnout.
Yeah.
It's not just that you get to vote. When people go to a rally, they sort of bought into you. And if it's raining out, they go vote.
Yeah. Rudy, it was interesting. Nigel Farage, who obviously hosts his own show here on GBNews, and he's a huge Trump supporter and a personal friend of Trump as well.
Yeah, vice versa.
He thought the announcement last night was a bit low energy, that Trump didn't feel on top of his game. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's just a matter of age?
I agree. There's no question from the observation of it that it was low energy. Now, the question is, I think that was deliberate. First of all, it's hard to do high energy when you're in a small room. And for him, he was in a small room. I mean, but he does his rallies that we hear all the wild crowd. The bare minimum is 30,000. He's up to 60, 70,000. That room holds about 1,000 people or less. So that's the first thing I commented on. When I saw it, I said, "Oh, this isn't the best venue for him." He feeds off those crowds. If you watch him at a rally, you'll see he always starts low energy or moderate energy, and the crowd works him up. The crowd gives him his fuel, and then he also, I think, is naturally funnier when he does that. He's a terrific performer, but like all performers, they need some external energy to figure out exactly what to do.
So Trump needs to get out on the road. He needs to get out on the road.
Those rallies are like they're like a variety show.
Yeah. And will you be there? Will you be there, Rudy? Are you going to stick by him over the course of this 2 years? Will you campaign for Trump?
Well, I'm now tied up as a radio journalist, so I've got to figure out my way through that. So he and I haven't talked yet. So after we talk, I'll give you a definitive answer on it. We have not had a conversation.
Big news in your world, Rudy, over the past 24 hours as well, which we need to discuss. So federal prosecutors have said that you will not face criminal charges over the Ukraine allegations from the run-up to the 2020 election. Now, Rudy, your house was raided during the affair. The MSM went absolutely mad for the story. It looks like that you've now been totally vindicated. What can you tell me about this?
What I can tell you is that I am a poster boy for the criminalization of law enforcement for political purposes. So, in essence, I was pursued, and they wanted my records to find a crime that they didn't know. I mean, they suspected that I committed a crime. They were hoping by going through all my records, they'd find one. They did it for 2 years. They seized my iCloud account, which was the worst of all. Never told me. They seized my iCloud account. Now, here's the giveaway. The day I began representing Donald Trump, they weren't interested in me. They were interested in jamming me up. Number one, hoping I would testify against Donald Trump. Well, number one, there's nothing for me to testify about. Everything I know about him is legal, and I was his lawyer. And then if I knew something illegal, I probably couldn't testify as his lawyer. So I don't know I think they were doing it really for public, so that the press could write, all of Donald Trump's friends are crooks and they're under investigation. Bannon is under investigation. Roger Stone's under investigation. Even Giuliani. And of course, I had a reputation of being probably the most effective prosecutor in America in the 20th century. There's nobody that put more people in jail than I did. The entire mafia leadership. I took Las Vegas back from them. I took the Teamsters Union back from them. I prosecuted Nazis and sent them off to death. I prosecuted Boesky, Milken. Did about 5 movies about my being the U.S. attorney. I mean,
I know.
Even the
and obviously, Rudy, it's absolutely fascinating because